Is this thing on? Are we on? Hello. 9:30 Monday night, inside the Asylum. I am your host, Jason London, along with another familiar voice on the other side of the glass, Carl the Man Mortensen. And some very new and exciting things are happening. As you can tell, we haven't been around forever. I feel like I've gained about 76 pounds since we've been on last time, Carl. But I got a new co-host, a new gentleman joining us, all the way from Waylon. Where are you from? Waylon Thacker, everybody. Put your hands together. Waylon, where are you from, bub?
I'm from Ohio, brother. How you doing?
Ohio, OHIO.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me tonight, man. Very exciting, man. I'm super pumped. It's been forever since we've been on the radio, and I've been able to talk to anybody. Just been busy, kids, family, life. Carl's got all kinds of stuff going on. New to the MMA family, welcome aboard. Inside the Asylum, my voice sounds a little off tonight. I'm not filling my mouth full of potato chips. I actually have a sore throat and a chest cold. So I'm going to fight through it, and we're going to get through it for our first ever episode of Inside the Asylum. Tonight we have just an incredible guest. I've had an opportunity to talk to her a few times in the past. I know she's a great interview. She also is a very, very highly touted interview. The mother of the UFC devil himself, Dana White. June White will be joining us. Looking forward to talking to her. Again, get another opportunity to talk to June. It's always a pleasure to have her candid, unbiased opinion, if you will. But well, we got a couple minutes before we go live with June. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man. How'd you get interested in some MMA?
Well, to be honest with you, I started out when I was 14, just flipping through the channels, and I saw Wanderlei Silva knocking out. I didn't know the channel at the time, but I saw these two dudes, in the clinch, and Wanderlei Silva was knocking out Rampage Jackson with a knee, and I just got obsessed with it afterwards, and
just fell in love with
it. And I started watching it around the first Ultimate Fighter, so I was in there when UFC pretty much began to take off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What a great, let's call a spade a spade. What a great event to get hooked up on. And Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin went through a war. Those guys gave everything they had.
Yeah, exactly. That was a grueling fight. I thought Stephan won the first fight, but they gave it to Forrest anyway. You know what I mean? But that's how it is with the judges. What about that last robbery, man, with Michael Johnson? That was crazy.
You know what? I wasn't around to watch it.
Yeah.
I try to shy away from the UFC, but if I get a chance to watch it, I've heard nothing but bad things about it. I've heard a lot of people all upset about it and talking about it, so I'm gonna have to go back and check it out. But are you excited? Are you excited to be part of the Madhouse family, man? You got yourself you hooked up with a great organization, man. I know Carl and Skippy will treat you like royalty, like they have with me and everybody else that they deal with.
Yeah, he's really been a nice guy, putting out my vlogs and stuff and just reaching out to me. It's just been a blessing. So, yeah, I'm really pumped and excited to be a part of this.
Hey, man, you came on at a good time, too. Carl was talking to us off air a little bit about some big things going on with MMA Madhouse. I'm not sure if I'm able to talk about it yet, but I'm sure Carl will let me know when we're able to talk about it. But just a little background about June. I mean, obviously, she's the mother of UFC President Dana White. She wrote a tell-all book, King of, I believe the title of it's King of MMA. I have it in my son's bedroom. So, King of MMA, Dana White, and it's a pretty interesting book. Have you had an opportunity to read any of it?
No, I haven't. I'm going to dabble into it though, for sure.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best. But without further ado, we're going to get a chance to hear it from the horse's mouth because I'm being told June is ready to go, and it's a pleasure, Miss White. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
It's been a long time since you and I have spoken. The last time you and I spoke, I was with King JB on a different radio station.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
So if you're just joining us, we have the pleasure to be speaking with June White, the mother of UFC President Dana White. How are things, June? How are things been treating you? The last time we talked, you were having some health issues. How are you feeling?
Oh, yeah. It just comes with age, I guess.
Don't tell me that.
Not
I'm going
too
to
much
be 40
you can do about it, unfortunately. So just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah. Are you getting by day to day? You doing okay?
Yeah.
Good.
I tend to have a lot of operations lately, so I'm in and out of the hospital. But I'm tough.
Yes, you are. Yes, you absolutely are. One of the things I really kind of wanted to know is how are the book sales? How's the book doing? How is the campaign? And I don't want to call it a campaign because it's not a witch hunt. It's more just an honesty campaign. How's the book and whatnot going?
Yeah, it's still sort of just plugging along. I mean, that's been a long time ago too. That was written in 2011, so that's been 4 years now. Over 4 years, actually. Yeah, time flies.
It sure does. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I love that everybody calls it a tell-all, but it's more, it does express my disappointment with Dana. But, I mean, it's mostly about his childhood and his family and growing up, and that he was basically pretty much a normal kid, you know?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Are you doing any new projects? Is there any new pokers in the fire that we should know about?
No. When the book came out, I got killed. I was shocked by the whole thing. I didn't know what was happening, but a lot smarter these days. And I was just so upset by some of the posts because it was everywhere on social media. And I couldn't understand why people were writing the things they were writing. You know, and there were pretty horrific comments about me and my family and just attacking us, you know. So I sort of was on a mission to find out who the people were and why they were doing it. And it's in federal district court now. And all those posts were coming from one person. Had dozens of accounts all over social media under different names, set up at different times and everything. And it's some 50-year-old woman from Michigan. I don't know her, but when I bring her, I know. A drunken sailor wouldn't say some of the things that woman posted.
I remember specifically after you and I spoke one of the first, maybe the second time, I was getting hate mail and, people just blasting me. And I'm like, good Lord, it's a free country. I can talk to whoever I want to.
Yeah, well, according to the UFC, you can't.
Man.
Yeah, so this one kind of tracks back to the UFC, which is really kind of disappointing, because obviously it's Dana and Lorenzo. I in the beginning kept waiting for Dana to jump in and say, whoever this is, stop. This is my family. But now to find that this woman is associated with the UFC is really sort of disheartening. I was disappointed in the person he's become, and now I'm extremely disappointed. So
it's sickening. Go ahead, Waylon.
Yeah. That's best to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Man, oh man. Have you had an opportunity? I don't know. Has Dana or any of his people reached out to you in a non-threatening, non-aggressive manner?
No. Yeah, I don't expect Dana to either. Just knowing him as well as I know him, I don't see him ever doing that. That probably him and a lot of other people who are employed by the UFC were probably part of that whole thing online. It's hard for me to even understand where he was coming from doing that. The woman's name, she was on the Underground. Of course, people got banned on the Underground too. They weren't allowed to mention my name or my book, but she went under Cindy O. You guys know her at all?
I've seen the name. I've seen the name for sure.
Yeah, Cindy Ortiz. And I know with the book first came out, some of the guys who have, their own sites and everything, a couple of them actually were going to do interviews with me, and they canceled them. And they told me it was because she had called them. I had no clue who this person was, but that she was somehow, maybe not employed by the UFC, but somehow she was representing them and told them that they could not do the interviews or they would be blacklisted in MMA and things like that. So
I got to be honest with you, I know that's right because I've been blacklisted on everything that's anything I'm ever associated with, which is fine with me. I don't really care. I'm not one of their sheep, but it's pretty sickening that you have to, I have to, tailor who I talk to or who I want to get my information from. It's kind of ridiculous.
It's sad, and it's sad, and it's unbelievable still to me how much power that they have, Zuffa, Lorenzo and Dana. And I mean, it's just not with MMA and the UFC, I mean, they put big money into getting politicians elected, and not just in Nevada either, and obviously New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Where they got shot down again.
June, let me ask you this, and this might be, I don't know if this is a question you even want to talk about. Now, I know Dana has children, and by the laws, those are your grandchildren. Have you spoken to or seen or had any contact with them?
No, that was the one thing he did, and it was the one thing he, if I didn't talk to him, and we had this thing going on forever, so be it. But the grandkids, he knew that's the one thing, that would hurt me. If he didn't give me money, I didn't give a shit. He cares about money, I don't. That he wouldn't come see me, I don't really give a shit. He's a grown man. If that's what he wants to do, so be it. But for him to say, you'll never see your grandkids again, that's what hurt, and he knew it would. So, and he's made sure, And
they haven't even had a chance to reach out. I mean, they're older now, right? I don't know his family structure all that well, but his children are a little bit older now. They haven't reached out at all, and privately, and
no.
Hey, Graham.
The two boys are, I think, 13 and 14 now, and the girl is 10. But, I mean, they were pretty small when all of this started, so, and sure. I can imagine what's been said, I mean, they're not allowed to see any of his family. It's not just me, and my mom, before she passed, she loved little Dana, the oldest boy, and she loved seeing him and everything, and she didn't see them either for a couple of years. And, I mean, none of my brothers, my sister just passed, but none of us, we're all cut out of his life, basically. I have a new life with new friends. We weren't part of it.
I guess. So it's just kind of a cutthroat right there. I don't know that's kind of the epitome of cutthroat, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's just being a total douche, basically, Your family's there, and we were a really close family. Your family's there for you through everything, and then once you make it big, you don't want your family around anymore. That's,
You see, I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
I just lost my father in March, and I would give anything to have him be here and, enjoying my boys and enjoying my family and whatever, but it just kind of floors me. But
yeah, we used to do everything together. We spent holidays together, not like me and my brothers and my sister and all our kids and everything. They all kind of grew up together and everything. So, we did vacations together every other year. We'd all pick a spot and everybody would go. So, it's not like, one of these families that they really rarely saw each other. So.
Now, I heard some rumors recently, maybe it's, the way time flies, it might have been a year ago or so, but are Dana and his wife that you know of, are they still together or have they separated, or is that just one of those who knows kind of situations?
Yeah, unfortunately, I do believe they are still together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some crazy infidelity stories through through the media. And, you know, you believe everything you hear, but.
Oh, I would say probably 99% of that is true.
Well,
yeah, well, you know, her dad was part of it was the end, I'll say, of the old mob out there back then, you know. And he saw that Dana was, you know, really probably going to be somebody, you know, with the UFC and everything. And, I mean, he would tell his daughter, you keep him with you, you keep him in your bed, don't let him go, you know. And, I mean, he blatantly would step out with other girls. And, you know, he had a suite at one of the Fertitas hotels. And, you know, they were complaining one time that he didn't come home for an entire month. I'm like, yeah, he was just down the street in a suite. So I just like her. When they first got married, I liked her. They went to high school together. But she was the one who basically started the wedge between him and his family. And it was just the money thing, you know. She didn't want him to help his family or give his family any money or anything. So he does support her whole family. Her sister and her mother and father, none of them work. So
let me. I don't know. You might not even be able to speak on this as well because it's been kind of a little bit of time since you've really known Dana as a person, and he's definitely not the person you raised. I can assure you that. But
I can assure you that too.
Was he always a heavy gambler like he is? I mean, I see him and Floyd Mayweather and Snoop Dogg and all these guys betting hundreds of thousands of dollars and, you know, this, that, and the other. Has he always been a heavy gambler?
Yeah, he loved gambling. I have to say that about him. We were in Boston one time, and I had this little concierge business in some of the big buildings in the financial district. And he came to me one day. I don't even think he was working. No, he wasn't working. And he said, Mom, I need $600. But for what? And he goes, I had the sure thing. I'm like, really? Why do you need $600? He goes, well, I lost. I said, yeah, so much for your sure thing. I'm like, you can't just go out. Yeah. I said, you can't just go out and do this shit, bet when you don't have the money. And he's like, yeah, these are bad guys, Mom. I got to pay up. So I gave him the money, but I made him work for me for 2 weeks to pay it off. And at first he was working, he had to wear a shirt and tie because we were in the lobby of these big buildings in the financial district, and it was killing him. So I used to have bike couriers do a lot of work for me, too. And he said, Mom, I'll do that instead. It was the middle of winter, but he would rather be out there on that bike than standing in a suit and tie behind a desk. So for 2 weeks, he was a bike courier in Boston.
And it gets cold up there. I'm from Buffalo, so I know how cold it gets up in the Northeast.
Yeah, it does. And trying to ride a bike in Boston in the winter, well, any time of the year, but especially the winter. But he didn't learn any lesson from it.
Clearly not. Clearly, the more you make, the more you gamble, I guess, is his motto.
Oh, I know. And I know that one time he was in, I can't remember which casino, but within 20 minutes he dropped $1 million. And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'll win it back next time I'm in there.
Jesus. Go ahead, Waylon. Are you there, Bob?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, hey, June, so how, first of all, nice to meet you, nice to talk to you. When did Dana start really becoming, distant between you, like whenever he started being in UFC? Like, when did he start acting this way?
It was probably about 10 years ago that it started. You know, like he was in Boston one day, and he was a half a block down the street from, I was doing real estate at that time, and he was like a half a block down the street from my office, and he was there all day, and they went to lunch, had to drive right by the office I was in and everything, and he never called me, he never came in, nothing. And when I heard he was there, I'm like, what the hell? You don't even come see me? You know, and he said, oh, Mom, I'm so busy, you know. And then I find out he went with like 10 people down to lunch and hung out at the restaurant for 2 hours. I'm like, what's up with you? And he's like, nothing. I just got tied up with all these people. You know, so it was little things that started like that, you know. His little girl was getting christened. And for the 2 boys, he was like, you're going to be here. You've got to get here a week before the christening and blah, blah, blah. And so then all of a sudden somebody tells me, oh, you're not going out to the christening. And I said, who's christening? And he said, Savannah's. I said, I didn't even know about it. So I call him up. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, oh, I didn't want to make you have to come all the way out here for that. I was like, since when? So, you know, but he always had these lame excuses like he wasn't calling or stopping in or stuff like that. So it's probably been, it started about maybe 9 or 10 years ago. And then it just got worse and worse. So he tells, we have a lot of people that, you know, are friends of his, but are friends of mine too. And, you know, they would say to him, what's up, Dana, that you're not talking to June anymore? And he would just tell him, it's none of your effing business. You don't know what she did. I said, oh, ask him, because I'd like to know what it is he thinks I did, you know. So lots of times he'll say that because there isn't really anything and he doesn't want to look like an ass, or something so trivial that he doesn't want to tell somebody, you know. I used to see him do it to other people all the time. People that were his friends or worked for him or something, and they'd call me or come to me and go, oh, I think I did something to Dana, but I don't know what it is because of the way he's treating me. And I used to just always make it.
I'm sorry to me to cut you off, and that seems to come full circle recently with the new. I don't know if you're paying attention to the UFC still, and this, I might just be, you know, preaching the choir on this, but with the new Reebok deal and with them cutting Stitch a long time, you know, I mean, Stitch was, I mean, the layman, the casual fan knew who Stitch was. You know, it just seems like you're not in Dana's corner. You're out the door.
Yeah, exactly. And I could tell I saw a few things that, you know, interviews that Stitch had done, and I read them, and he said, you know, Dana and I were always good friends, and then Dana comments afterwards, I was never friends with him. I'm like, oh, that sounds so typical. And then Stitch said, all of a sudden, you know, I'd be walking down the hall, and I'd say hello, and he wouldn't even look at me or talk to me. I'm like, there it is. That's it. You don't know it yet, but you've already been kicked out of his circle, and you're on your way out the door, and you don't know it. That's just exactly how he does it. So, yeah, and the uproar from everybody about Stitch, and just the MMA fans are so fickle. You know, it lasted about 3 days, and now they're all over it.
Yeah.
I was just heartbroken. Go ahead, Waylon. I'm sorry to cut you off. But...
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's just typical of him. You'll see Dana will hang around in a lot of his videos. He'll be with somebody for a year or maybe a little longer, and then all of a sudden it's somebody else with him all the time. And it's just sort of him. People will last with him somewhere around 2 or 3 years, and then they're out, no matter who it is. The only one that's still around is Lorenzo.
Well, he's got the checkbook. You know, it's
exactly.
You know, it's funny because it's like, what can you do for me? And then when that well runs dry, you find yourself on the way out the door. So.
Yeah. You know, he just. I think I don't know if it was on this show or another one. I read this thing. Somebody had sent it to me. And it's sort of a psych problem that I've never heard of, and I can't even remember it now. But it gave this list of all these things, and I went through the list, and every one of them was Dana. You know, how the person flies off in a rage at the littlest thing. He loves to belittle anyone that's around him. He constantly has to have people telling him how wonderful he is, and, you know, that he's the best, and God help you if you say something against him or that he doesn't like. I'm like, oh, my God. And it said that as the person gets older, it only gets worse. I said, how could he get any worse? My God. Oh. And then of course the reason was the mother. The mother praised him too much.
Yeah, you drove him to be the douche or whatever. You're the reason.
Exactly. It's either you love him too much or you didn't love him enough. But whatever, right. It's the mother's fault.
Absolutely, my mother. I blame my mother for everything. You kidding me?
Exactly.
What do you think of the Reebok deal? You're very candid, and I always love talking to you because you're very honest and open. And I just kind of want to hear, what do you think of that deal?
Yeah, I read a lot of stuff on it because there were so many people talking about it. But, they say everything was going to the fighters. But if you read the whole thing, 20 to 30% of the profit is going to the fighters. That's not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then it depends on how many fights you do and who you are, and Reebok might take you on and do more deals with certain fighters. But it doesn't look like it's a good deal from everything I've seen. I mean, Lorenzo, I think in an interview said that, we have to hire all new management people for this to run it and, take care of issues, and, we have to take the money out of the profits first before anything can go to the fighters. And then I saw something else that said they get 20 to 30% after all of that. I'm like, wow, can't be much at all. And the outfits, oh, my God, I'm sorry. This is MMA, and it's not like Tour de France or something,
These guys got to pay all their trainers and all their sponsors. They got to pay all their trainers, and they got to pay, their nutritionists and everything out of that piddly wage.
Yeah. Well, and the outfits themselves don't. I understand them wanting everybody to have a sort of similar look. I actually understand where they were going with it, but they didn't pull it off as far as I'm concerned. I loved some of the T-shirts the guys had. They were just great. And Reebok should have come up with something like that, not the stuff they came up with. It's just so plain, ugly, and doesn't fit MMA at all. So I don't think anybody won on that deal.
Yeah, that fashion show was pretty weird too. It did not fit MMA, not even UFC, you know what I mean? So I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy, seeing Alexander Gustafsson, a Viking of a man, walk in and do like a model thing. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I saw a picture somewhere where they had on, they weren't, they're not even superheroes. They're something that little kids watch, that's all I know.
Power Rangers, yeah.
Yeah, there you go, that's it. Yeah, I was like, you're kidding me. Oh, my God. How did they ever get away with this? I could see if it was like a joke or something and they ripped off those outfits and had something great underneath, but those were pathetic.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I was laughing when you said that they didn't do very well, or they didn't pull it off very well. But I think the people who needed it to be pulled it off pretty well. I think Dana and Lorenzo and Reebok, they're sure happy with the deal.
Yeah, exactly. They seem to be the only ones that are,
Yeah.
Sure. I think, Jones was picked up and then dumped by Reebok, and Rhonda, I guess, has a private deal with them, and I don't know who else. So. She'll do okay. That's another. I do like her. At first, I was kind of skeptical of her, but I actually like her now. But I had a laugh because one of the
question to you.
Yeah.
That was my question to you. What do you think of Rhonda, and what do you think of her relationship with Dana? Because that's one of the infidelities that I've heard him rumored to be with, and I just was curious, do you see that as something that I want to kind of tread lightly here? Do you think he would crap where he eats or no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. I mean, they were together quite a bit, you know, her promoting the UFC and everything, but you can just, or I can anyways, I can just tell. I remember the first UFC card girl he was with, and I saw her looking at him one night at one of the weigh-ins, and I thought, that little bitch is sleeping with him. You know, and at the time, I liked his wife, so I was like, and every time she came up to us, like, Dana, I'm like, I don't like that girl, get her away from us. And he'd be like, oh, Mom, she's a sweetheart. I said, yeah, I'm sure she is. You know?
I'm sure she is.
But yeah, I could see that with Rhonda, too, the way they were together. I'm like, yep, again.
Man,
although I wouldn't mind him leaving his wife and being with her.
She'll put him in his place if he steps out.
The what?
I said she'll put him in his place if he steps out of line.
Exactly. She is pretty amazing. I have to say that. And I have to laugh because if you remember in the beginning, Dana said, no way in hell ever would women fight in the UFC. And really, I think she's one of his biggest cards right now.
Absolutely, she's the face of the UFC, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I thought, wow, talk about a complete 360 there, you know. And I just saw that they're not fighting in Dallas now. Her next fight is in Vegas. But, yeah, she's amazing. Conor McGregor, and, I mean, we have an Irish background, and I can't stand that little guy. Oh, my God. I hope Aldo hands him his ass in the next fight. He's just so, he's so cocky, you know, and Dana and Lorenzo were just loving him at first.
Yeah, his fans are really, really bad, too.
Yeah.
They're probably like the worst trolls of all time as the Conor McGregor fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and when they had the fight in Boston, well, even in Vegas, I mean, they were flying over from Ireland just to see him. And all the Irish, like off the boat Irish in Boston, all went to the fight. But people said it was terrible, you know, being in the seats and the stands and the fans, you know, with all of them, the way they were behaving.
Bunch of drunk Irish.
They were. Yeah. You got to love them at times, but then at other times you're like, want your distance from them.
I love them Saturday night, but Sunday morning when I'm hungover like a bastard, I hate them.
Exactly. Those guys can get up and go to work the next day.
Oh, Jesus, not me, man.
Yeah. You can barely lift your head off the pillow.
Exactly right. I got two little boys that no matter how drunk I get, they never have a hangover. So,
exactly.
Gee, let me ask you a question. Out of your book, one of the story, I want to. It's like I play poker, and I always keep my cards down and I shuffle them around, hoping that they're going to change. So I hope that this story changes out of the book. But tell me the story. Tell us the story. I know the story, and it just drives me crazy. It breaks my heart. Tell me the story. Tell us the story about Grandma, about Dana's grandma.
Yeah, that tells me, too. That's what brought the book about. You know, I was mad at him, the way he was behaving to begin with, but that was it. She was just shy of 94 when she passed away. It's been 4 years now. And, you know, she lived with us because I was a single mom, and I worked a lot of hours. So she would live with us and, you know, help Dana and his sister with their homework and have supper ready for them and, you know, spent the holidays with us. When we were living in Vegas, Dana would come back and stay with her in the summer with her and his other grandmother. And so the last 2 years, he really hadn't even bothered to talk to her. And she was sick. And he called her and he said, oh, Graham, I've just been real busy. That's why I haven't, you know, come to see you or, you know, called you or anything. I thought, oh, give me a break, a 5-minute phone call to your grandmother. But anyway, so he had told her, he heard she was sick, and he had called her and told her that he was going to send his jet to come get her. Well, I went down there and I was taking care of her the last few months before she passed. And I saw one of her neighbors one day, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, my mom's sick. I'm down taking care of her." And she said, "Oh, we thought your mom was gone." I said, "Gone where?" And she said, "Well, she went around telling the whole neighborhood that her grandson was coming out to get her, and he was going to bring her to Las Vegas, and she was going to get the best medical care money could buy." I don't know, but that was just it for me. She really thought that Dana was going to step up to the plate and kind of save her, you know.
Yeah.
So, but he called her, and he never came to see her. He never sent her a card or flowers, and we had a funeral for her up in Connecticut. He didn't go to that. Nothing. So I was just furious over it. He had done it one other time. He used to go to Mexico for Thanksgiving all the time, and he called her and he said, "Hey, Grandma, come to Mexico with us for Thanksgiving." And she was like, "Sure." And he said, "Well, we're going to fly down and they'll send the plane up to get you in a couple of days." And, of course, she waited and waited, and the plane never came.
Ugh.
And he said, "Oh, I never told her I was going to do that." I said, "What, she made it up?" You know, so when she was sick, I said, "Ma, you know Dana." I said, "Don't believe anything he tells you when you talk to him." But when I heard that the whole neighborhood had been told that her grandson was going to send the plane and bring her up to Vegas, that was sort of the last straw with him for me. So.
And that breaks my heart because I just get this mental picture of you know, a frail little old lady who, you know, was in the twilight of her life, just so proud of her grandson, and just got like her bags packed sitting by the front door, and it just breaks my heart, man. It's just, you know, family's so important to me, and, you know, and I don't have any grandparents left. And when the first time you and I talked, and you told me that story, and then I read it in the book, and then, you know, just hearing and seeing things that he says, and it just, like, I have zero respect for him, and if he stood in front of me, I would tell him that to this day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that when other people hear that story, too, it's the same thing, you know. They go, "Wow, why would he do that?" You know. And he says, "Oh, I never said that to her. I never talked to her. I never told her I'd come get her and help her." I'm like, why wouldn't you do that? You know, she was living in this little trailer down in Florida. Yeah. She had the worst car. I hated it when I would go down there because I would drive her car. When you put the blinker on to turn the corner, the windshield wipers came on, too. And you couldn't just shut them off. You had to flick that signal thing about 20 times to get them to stop wiping, and they didn't go slow. They went like 90 miles an hour, you know. And you're trying to turn a corner, and you're trying to get the windshield wipers to stop going. And I'm like, here's this 90-year-old woman driving this damn thing. I'm like, oh, my God. You know, he could have bought her a nice little place or a nice little car or just given her some money to help her out, you know. But he didn't do any of that. So, I don't know. And, you know, the part where she's sitting there waiting, his father did that to him and his sister because he would call every now and then and he'd tell them, "Oh, I'm going to come over and pick you guys up and take you out for the day," you know. And they were younger then. And the same story, when you said that, I pictured that. They would be sitting by the window watching every car that went by, thinking he was coming any minute. He would never show up. And Dana said he remembered that his whole life.
I was just going to say that. Is that, you know, is that where he gets? Is that where he gets that from? I mean, clearly, you know, you and him had a great relationship from everything I've read prior, and not even talking to you, June. I mean, I've read things that you guys had a great relationship. I've seen, you know, pictures and things. So it's not like you were the bad guy, but you're taking the beating in later life for that.
Yeah, you know, well, he for a while he got to be good friends with his dad once he got all his money. He was flying his dad all over the place and buying him everything, and then they had a falling out, and now he hates his dad again, you know. So, but, yeah, I would think that he would remember what it was like to do that to somebody and never want to do it to anyone, you know. But it doesn't seem to matter. I don't know, maybe genes matter. His dad was a really selfish guy, so might matter a lot.
I know what I would say to him, but if Dana stood in front of you today and it's just you and him, nobody around, so he's not playing for the crowd and whatever, what do you say to him?
Yeah, I would just like to see the kids before, they're older and married and gone on their own lives, Why put them in the middle of all of this? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Does the question,
then again,
why?
That was the most hurtful thing he knew he could do, so that's what he did. So where that comes from, I don't get it.
Is the question why, Dana, or anything like that? Do you ever want to know anything like that, or is it just, it's just too far gone at this point?
Yeah, I mean, a girl he used to date, her and I are still friends. Well, they lived together for 3 or 4 years. But she had him, she's working for some company in Boston, and last fight they were here, she asked him if they would come to this one club, that they represented, and he did it. And she said, I tried to talk to him and ask him what happened between you two, and he got really mad and said, none of your effing business, and I don't even want to talk about her. So she said, I didn't want to push it. She said, because I needed him to do this for us. So
sure,
I said, no,
sure.
I don't. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know how he became the way he is. Everybody says, oh, it's a tough business and you've got to be tough. There's a difference between being tough and just being rotten and mean,
A dickhead, I'll say it.
There you go. Even better.
Hey, Waylon, I'm sorry to chat everybody's ear off. Waylon, do you have anything for June while we got her on the phone?
You got any, June? I was want to ask you about the Wanderlei Silva situation when he's stated that some of the UFC fights are fixed. Do you think that he's correct with that? And also with Dana White suing him, what do you feel about that situation?
That's just, well, I don't know. When I used to go to all the fights, I went to every fight for the first 4 years, and I know that none of that was fixed, and I can't imagine any of the guys, getting paid to take a fall, but, and if Wanderlei has something proof, I'd love to hear it or see it, but once again, the fickle UFC fans, boy, they turned on him pretty quick, They loved him, and then all of a sudden, he basically, he was the bad guy, and the UFC suing him. I mean, they, at the drop of a hat, they sue everybody,
Yeah.
I had a website that wasn't the name of my book. It was something like Dana White MMA or it's something like that. And I got a letter from their lawyers saying I was to immediately take it down and turn it over to them or they would sue me. So wow. I said, oh, really? So I got another one that sounded almost just like it. And once again, I get a letter. I probably could have went on forever with that, but it got old quick.
Yeah. It seems like they sue everybody because they just make people go away. They have so much money backing them, and they can just,
right.
The layperson, I'm not going to fight that battle. I'll just take my website down, basically.
Right. Well, I can't think of the guy's name. Iron Forges Iron. He had my book up on his site, and he actually posted the 2 letters from Zuffa saying that they were going to sue me and take me to court and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, they were suing him. For putting up gifts that he shouldn't have put up, and little things of fights and everything that he didn't have permission to post. And
Zombie Prophet, right? Forget it was the Zombie Prophet. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine.
He's
a buddy of mine. We talked about it. Yeah, we talked.
Oh, did you? Yeah. But he had to shut down his site. He said, I can't fight these guys, And they knew that. They knew he would just, go away. What else could he do? But
and the
he
thing
sort of wouldn't.
Is that he does all that stuff for free. He gives them all kinds of publicity. He was people were flocking to his page to see the UFC gifts, and all they would have had to do was, just they didn't even need to pay him. Just give him a little bit of credit, and and I remember that specifically when he had your book up, and then those letters. I remember talking to him a couple of days later and being like, dude, they came at me hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I felt bad about it too, and he said, oh, don't worry about it. He goes, I'll probably step into something better anyway. But I still felt bad, because most people, there was some guys up in Canada when the book first came out, and they sent me some emails saying, oh, we wish we had known that you had written this book. We would have published it for you and put it out up here in Canada, because there's so many fans up here. And then I sent him back an email, and they were on Twitter, that's what it was. And I said, well, you can still publish it up in Canada, and put it out up there, and I can work with you. And then I didn't hear from them. And so I sent them an email, and I didn't hear from them. They must have heard from the UFC because they never responded to me again after that. So I'm pretty sure he has, I don't know, he doesn't himself, I'm sure, but he has people follow what I do and who I talk to and, interviews and stuff. A friend of his called me not too long ago, and I can't remember who I'd done an interview with, and they said, oh, what other things could you tell us about Dana? And I'm like, oh, my God, there's so much I could say, but I said I would never do that, And this guy calls me out of the blue, and he goes, hey, I haven't talked to you in ages. Want to go to lunch or something? And I'm like, oh, sure. And so I knew. I said, Dana put you up to this? No, I just, I've been meaning to call you. I've been meaning to get together with you. So I was like, oh, okay, sure. So we're at lunch, and he says, so you did this interview, and you told him that there was a lot of stuff you could say about Dana. And he goes, what was that all about? And I said, oh, did you listen to the interview? And he goes, no. I said, well, how would you know I said that? And he goes, oh, some friends of mine listened to it, and I was talking to them, and they told me. I said, oh, okay. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, right. Yeah, exactly. I told him a few things that I knew that left his mouth hanging open.
Sometimes I sit and I would love to just sit and pick your brain, and I would love to just off the record and off the air just get all the information and like someday I'm going to bump into Dana someday. I'm going to get down there and I'm just going to bump into him and be like, I know something you don't, like a little child, and I'll run around, run circles around.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I know somebody one time was, bashing me online, and they said, oh, the next thing she'll probably put out a book with him when he was a little kid when he was naked or something. I'm like, every mom has a naked picture of their kid. Of course I do. I'm like, oh, that would be horrible to see a naked picture of a little baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
June, I was just being told on the back end that we're running out of time a little bit, and I'm sad because it's been too long since you and I talked. I'd love to get you back on and to wrap and to get some more information from you. I love talking to you. You're always one of my favorite interviews, so I appreciate you coming on. What are you doing now? What can we expect from you now? Are you still just pushing the?
Yeah, I live up in New Hampshire, and I actually have my house in the market. Down in Hampton Beach.
I have family in Hollis. Do you know where Hollis is?
It's up in the middle of New Hampshire somewhere, I think.
I don't
know that much. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that much outside of the coast. It's a pretty short coast here,
Fair enough.
So I live on the beach, but I was hoping to sell my house, and I just want to take off and sort of roam the country for a few months. But I was thinking, there's a lot of people that have been very kind to me online and who have actually become sort of friends, on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. And I was thinking, I'm going to go meet some of these people,
Sure.
they've been very, very nice and cool, so might as well go see who they really are.
Well, just know that if you come down to ever make it down to Cape Coral, Florida, my wife and my 2 children have a spare bedroom for you anytime you'd like. So if you want to come down and visit, you're more than welcome to come down.
Yeah, June, I was going to ask you, like, what kind of responses was you getting at, like, after, you said all this stuff about the UFC? Like, was you getting positive responses or negative responses?
Like I said, this woman before, when I would do interviews, would pop up under different names and say, pretty bad stuff. But most of the people don't say too much anymore. Like, it was like sort of that mob mentality. Once the UFC got this girl and whoever else they pay to do this stuff going, everybody just seemed to jump on the bandwagon. The same thing that they're doing with, Tito and Randy and Silva. Any of the guys that the UFC doesn't like, they first of all set loose their own little trolls, and then these fans just jump on the bandwagon. So,
yeah, you said it best. They're really fickle. They turn on their favorite fighters at the drop of a hat anymore.
Yeah. Before you couldn't do that, I mean, and they don't build any stars anymore either, Randy and Tito and Chuck and all those guys, they built them up and people loved them, So now I can't even tell you who half the guys are anymore. They come and go so quick. So
is there any fighters you've been watching?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't pay that kind of money to watch his fight. Yeah, and I was watching Bellator for a while, but I don't even watch them anymore. I'm sort of losing interest in it all. But I'm not the only one. A lot of really long-time MMA fans, I go talk to them about a fight or something that's going on. They're like, oh, yeah, I don't really watch that anymore, Jim. I'm like, wow, you go all the way back to, like, Pride. They're like, yeah, it's changed so much, I'm not interested anymore. So I see a lot of the real old fans sort of walking away from it now. And some of the newer ones, I met some kids up the street, and they found out I was seeing his mom, and they were like, oh, we're huge UFC fans. I mean, they were, like, in their mid-20s. And they're talking, and it was just before the McGregor Aldo fight. So I said, what do you think of Conor McGregor? And they're like, oh, I didn't see that fight.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, oh, no one has. They haven't had it yet.
Yeah.
So then I asked him something else, and he was like, who? I'm like, okay, these are the new fans.
My favorite is when people say, I train UFC. That's my favorite. Like if they train MMA, I train UFC. Yeah, you're a huge fan.
Yeah, I see a lot of that on Facebook.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, I think it's changed a lot. So, kickboxing I was starting to watch. I think what is the World Series of Kickboxing? But I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing it. I haven't seen it lately. I thought their fights were really good. They were really clean. There was no laying on top of each other, hanging on to each other for 45 seconds, or it was just sort of pure and clean and good fighting.
Yeah.
June, have you always been a combat sports fan?
My dad was a big boxing fan, and every Wednesday, and I think was it Saturday nights, we watched boxing from the time I can remember. So I was kind of a boxing fan for a while, and then when Dana started with the UFC, I started going I'll see. And that was the other thing when he first started. I mean, he would call me up and he'd go, Mom, you're going to be here, right? Don't wait till the last minute. Come out like a week ahead of time, and you have to be here for the weigh-ins, and you have to go to the press conference with me afterwards. I'm like, yep, I'll be there. So for the first 4 years, I was at every single fight, every single press conference. So I actually just sort of got into it just because I was there all the time. But it is a lot more exciting if you go to the fights than watching it on TV. I find it pretty boring on TV.
Yeah, because you got to listen to Joe Rogan flap his gums all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, he's another one that's on my favorite list.
Oh, Jesus, man, oh man, that guy. I think him and Dana share a brain.
Yeah, I think so too.
Man.
One of my brothers was out in Vegas with Dana, and they were walking through one of the casinos, and Rogan was coming the other way, and they stopped, and so Dana introduced my brother to him, and he goes, "Oh, another one of the family members trying to leech off of you?"
Wow.
I am so surprised my brother didn't punch him in the face. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's the comment you say to a family member you've just met.
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you. You blood-sucking leech. That can.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like Joe Rogan anyway.
Yeah. Oh my God. He was up here. There's a little, they call it the casino. It's got all these little shops and everything in it, and there's a place that used to be a ballroom upstairs. And now they actually have some really big-name bands that go there and comedians and stuff like that. And it's got to be at least 6-7 years ago, Rogan was there. And so I went with one of my brothers to watch him. Oh, my God, he insulted more people. And I thought, I can't believe someone isn't tossing a drink at him up there on the stage. Some girl jumped up, and, of course, she was trashed. And she started screaming, "I love you, Joe." Oh, my God, he tore into her. You stupid effing this and that, and on. Just stopped his whole monologue and everything. I mean, the whole place was dead quiet. I'm like, he's an idiot to do that to somebody, you know?
Oh, man. Are you still friends with anybody in the organization, June? Do you get a chance to talk with any people you've made relationships with?
A lot of them have been fired. I went to see this one girl, Lisa, who started out with Dana when he was teaching his boxing aerobics. She started out as a client and started working for him, and she moved on to the UFC with him and everything else. And she was working for the IFL, and so they had a fight in Connecticut. This was a number of years ago. And so I called her up when I found out they were down there, and I'm like, I'm not that far from you. I said, I'm going to come down with some friends. We'll watch the fights, and I'll visit with you. So she said, okay. The day before the fight, she calls me up, and she starts saying, your son's a bastard. He said this and that. And I'm like, what the hell happened? And she said, he found out you were coming to the fights. I'm like, yeah. And she said, so he called the owner of the IFL, and they pulled all your tickets. I said, what? I had like 10 tickets. And thank God, they tried to cancel my hotel room, but I had already paid for it with a credit card, so they couldn't. I was like, what? So, and then he even called. It was the first time their fights were being televised, and I think it might have been Spike. And he called them and told them that, you know, they were putting his mother and his whole family in the front row, and they were going to interview me just to embarrass him that I was at somebody else's fights, and on and on. And so then they got into it and wanted to know who was giving me tickets and how did I get invited to the fight. And the same thing happened with Bellator, too. I went to the fight they had up in Maine. I knew one of the fighters. He was one of the UFC fighters that had left there. Of course, I can't think of his name. Irish Hand Grenade.
Marcus Davis,
anyway.
I think.
Who is it?
Marcus Davis.
Yep.
Yes. Nicest guy in the world, and he was fighting for Bellator. So I went up to see him fight, and Jerry Millen is good friends with the guys at Bellator, and he's Dana's apparently arch enemy, so I've heard. And he got me tickets, and I went up there, went to the fights, came back, and afterwards this one girl that had gone with me, a couple of weeks later, she called me and she said, you know, a bunch of people got fired because you went to the fight. I said, no, sir. Nobody even knew I was there. And she said, oh, yeah. She said one of Dana's friends knew, and he told Dana, and Dana called and wanted people fired, and he called Spike, and wanted to know who was responsible for giving me tickets. And the same thing. They put her in the front row so that when the camera scanned, everybody would see his mother there, and they were going to interview me and all this. Well, I was never on TV. They never scanned me or the front row, and but he was wanting to. But she said, I heard 2 or 3 people got fired because of it. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I said, so I called Jerry, and he said, what happened? He said, oh, yeah, Dana started a lot of shit. So there was another fight recently down in Connecticut. Bellator wouldn't even give me tickets.
Well, that's crazy.
Oh, sorry, you heard the wrong date. We're going the next weekend after that date here. Nobody gets killed. June, listen, I'm sorry I got to cut you. I'm sorry I got to cut you short. Can we get you back on in a couple weeks so we can continue our conversation? I love having you on. I really do.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
Thanks, June. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. It's June White MMA.
And you're very receptive to people talking. You talk to everybody that messages you. I see you all the time.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Where else are you at? So you're on Twitter at June White MMA?
Yep. I'm on Facebook, but I don't even think it's under my own name. It was when I was doing real estate. I think it's under my real estate company name that I had back then. It's SO Boston Realty. But the book's still floating around out there if anyone wants to read it.
I got myself a copy of
a new book or anything?
The what?
Are you going to be writing a new book or anything, June?
I don't know. I don't think it's worth it, I guess people don't know as much as I do about, well, even these days, because I'm friends with a lot of his friends and that still talk to me and they'll tell me stuff, So I guess I know a lot more than a lot of the people. I just assume that it's public knowledge that's out there. When I say something, people go, no, sir. So, yeah.
Well, June, you can always, if you want to write it and just use your pen name as like my name if you want. He can hate me. I don't give a shit. So
there you go. You'll get sued.
June, I appreciate you coming on. You have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, June White, man. Waylon, that's a pretty cool lady, isn't it?